was Dak Prescott recently in tears. He did an interview with the Dallas Morning News, said he already wasn't playing well enough before he got hurt. And as he watched the Cowboys lose to the Texans, it hurt to see what a disappointing season this is becoming. Quote, "The other day after the game, I guess it all just hit me. Boom. Right there, a couple of tears came down. This is going to hurt. It's going to suck at times. You just have to understand this is one of the moments that it does. I don't want anything right now other than to let it suck. It's understanding and being able to voice that. Yeah, I'm blessed to be where I'm at. Off the field, been some of the most joyous times I ever could have imagined, dreamed of. Having a child, getting engaged, starting a family. But then on the football field, it's probably been as tough of a season as I've ever had. I would probably say the toughest." So this is Dak being brought to tears, apparently after the Texans game the other day. What about your own individual play? Not playing up to my standard, turning the ball over more than I have, just uncharacteristic. But at the same time, mentally feeling as well as I ever have about the game, as smart as I ever have, as sharp as ever. Leaving some of those games mentally, it was like, man, I saw it the best and clearest I've ever seen it, but maybe I didn't execute that way, or the team didn't execute that way. So Dak feels like it's clicking mentally better than ever, still didn't translate or get in the results on the field. I know which direction I'm headed in. I know I'll be faster, stronger, and better than I ever have. By the way, I will attack this.
Yeah, look, it's a little troubling that he's seen the game as good as he ever has, and yet he's having as poor of a season as he is, or as he did.
That is a humongous mind F, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you're talking about, in addition to that, you are starting to get the feeling of like he's breaking down. Like you start to wonder if he's going to be able to sustain this.
So I'm hoping y'all didn't do this topic while I was out, but it was a great question and topic, and we're going to hopefully have a 2.0 fight with Kevin Hagelin at 9:40 in Crosstalk.
We did not do this segment.
Take it away. It's your topic.
A couple years ago, maybe a year ago?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. They all run together now. Hagee and I got into quite the altercation during Crosstalk. He was wearing his Duke hoodie. Mm-hmm. It was his contention that Dak was injury prone. And I was like, all right. And I said he wasn't because the injuries that he sustained, the main injuries, where he didn't have a thumb injury, which was on somebody's helmet. Obviously, the ankle, which was broke. Anybody would, in the same situation, would have had the same injury.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So now soft tissue injuries like Miles Austin's groin, that to me is injury prone. But when you have, when you break bones, I don't consider Aiden Hutchinson injury prone because his legs snapped.
Yeah. Agreed.
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's an injury prone situation. So I took those away. But, the calf, maybe the shoulder towards the end of camp, when he has like
shoulder twice.
Yeah.
Because he had the AC joint sprain at the end of the 19 season.
Right. Add the hamstring coming here off the bone.
Calf.
And the calf, right? Now, those could be considered to me injury prone. The knee, the ankle snapping, the thumb, I don't consider that injury prone.
You remember they reached a point with Josh Hamilton where...
Which point?
Yeah.
There's a lot of points.
Several points. But there was a point with Josh Hamilton where... the injuries were kind of all over, and it was for a very different reason. But what he had done to his body for years before that had kind of broken his body down and just made him more susceptible to injury, a lot of people felt like. And it didn't even necessarily have to be soft tissue or anything else. It was just his body was starting to break down earlier because he had done a lot of abuse to it. Not that Dak has clearly not done that, but it does make me wonder, is he just starting to physically break down in general? Is he just more susceptible? So even though it is a fluky thing like hitting your thumb or other things, like just overall, is his body starting to break down?
Like I can make the case that even the AC joint, if you get tackled on it, again, that's not like the calf where he's rolling to the right and he throws and he strains it on the throw, or he strains his hamstring and he rips it up when he's running. That to me is injury prone. But again, breaks, I don't think of breaks as necessarily the injury prone. So perhaps you've got to take another look at this, and maybe he is. And I think I have a legit discussion about whether Dak is an injury-prone guy or not.
I'm officially worried about it. I would try to figure out possible ways to bail out of this. I'm sorry, Bobby. I'm not trying to fight with you. Watching him run is painful.
Laboring.
It is stuck in quicksand. And now, look, I'm never going to question Dak Prescott's toughness, mentally or physically, ever. That's why James Jones should be ashamed of himself. That was absurd.
Yeah.
That was broadcast crime, what he did, from a spare too on top of it. But watching him run, the aches, pains, and now you add the age into it, I'm officially worried about him playing full season.
Looks like you can do it.
He's
Bobby,
31.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Looks like they could do it after next year.
They could start working towards that direction. They could swallow the cap hit easier, but it's still, there's like trigger points along the way where stuff becomes more guaranteed. And so right now it looks like that, but by the time they reach that point, it may be difficult again.
So according to Over the Cap, his cap number next year is 89 million, 89.8. So 90 million is his cap number, but his dead cap is 151 million.
Let me put you in the time machine. Was that everything?
Well, and then real quick, now they could post June 1 and make it 61 million, but if they wait until 2025, it is the $61 million. So you get next year out of him and to see what he has. Maybe he goes back and has another MVP type season.
I'll ask you. I already know Bobby's answer. I think I know your answer. If you could have the time machine and go back to the extension, what would you do? And he got hurt this year. That is all factored in.
Oh, I would have not done
signed
it. Not done it the way they did.
Yeah.
And
Bobby, you still would have.
Yeah, I would have done it earlier is what I would have done. But yes.
Okay.
That's fair. I mean, I would have done it earlier, but once they got to that point to the start of this year, I would have let them play it out.
Here's the problem with the way the contract is structured. So when you say something like, okay, well, after 2025, you can get out of it because of the dead money. Right, that's how the dead money looks right now. But the issue is on the 5th day of the league year of 2025, his salary for the year after guarantees. So by the time you get to the end of 25, his 26 salary is already guaranteed. It does the same thing the following offseason with his 27 salary. It all triggers and locks in place a year in advance, and so you don't really have that flexibility to get out of it.
Right, and because they had no flexibility in negotiating it. Mm-hmm. Because who's this guy?
Todd France.
Todd France. You're dealing with a big dog, and he had you by the stones, which we said the entire time, no matter what Jerry and Steven said, and there you go.
Yeah, you ended up giving up a 4th-round pick for it, too, to create some sort of pretend leverage, do whatever you had to do, and it's led to this point. Now, look, if they were at a point for themselves because of their window and everything else and them wanting to try and win, if you want to win right now or you feel like there is a window that's closing, you had to sign him. You didn't have time to reset if you want to try to win within this window. And so they had to, and they were locked in financially.
Here's my counter to that. Mm-hmm. These are all These are just theories. I have 2 theories. No one will ever convince me that if Jerry was 50, he would have signed Dak to the extension.
Oh, I agree.
I think because of Jerry's age, he's terrified of ending up with the Quincy Carter 2.0 run.
I think if he was 70, he might not have done it.
Yeah. My other theory, I don't even know if it's a theory. We need a separate segment on what all in really meant, because Jerry, I think, did a really poor job of explaining it, but it also took us too long to figure it out. What all in really meant was, I'm not taking a hit. See, I had the wrong casino analogy. When he said all in, I thought it was, hey, I'm sitting there and I'm gonna go and get every single free agent. All chips in the middle of the table. All right, I'm going for 21. I don't care if I have 19. I'm hitting. That's what I thought. At WinStar, the official casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. What he really meant was, no, I'm not taking a hit. The cards you give me are the cards I'm playing. And once the hand is done, it's a new shoe.
Yeah.
That's what all in really meant. He just had a horrible analogy, I think, he would argue. It wasn't, I'm going to go buy everything, free agent, Wild Wild West, make all the moves, make all the trades. That's what all in means to everyone else. He meant Mike Zimmer, Mike McCarthy, everyone on the 1-year deals. I'm going all in for the final time with this group. So when you say for this window, I could argue it would have made sense just to have Dak play out the one. Now, they would have lost him possibly, probably. But we have 2 windows here. We have a window that they're talking about closing with all in, and now we have a window of Micah, Lamb, and Dak all re-signed. Well, which window is it? It's as blinding and glaring as the damn sun windows at the stadium. So what's the plan?
The term is pot committed in poker.
Yeah.
Right? He's already committed to the hand. He's going to ride the hand out. It's the same thing as I'm just going to finish the shoe out. I'm not going to, I've already placed my bet. I'm, I'm going to check here. If you raise me, I'll see it. But that doesn't mean I'm pushing all my chips in. It's just he's just pot committed, and that's the problem. Like, they put themselves in this position. Now, it's a good position to be in from the standpoint that they had a couple of free agents that were all coming up. They had the opportunity to get out of them. He could have folded his hand.
Now, Bobby, I'm seeing people say that $100 million can get freed up for this offseason. Is that true? And is it possible? I guess probable.
You can flip switches and do things with Dak's contract and others and free up that much money, yeah. But the same question that exists right now in terms of their margins on the cap will then be bloated even further into the future. So yeah, if they want to buy themselves one more year, they can keep saying one more year, and then they get to the point where they're New Orleans, essentially, is the thing. The debate, I don't think, is they clearly are in a tight cap constraint right now. That's the reality of it. The question I think that people need to figure out is, did they get there responsibly or irresponsibly? Did they do it out of necessity? They had to do these things, or did they get to it because they mismanaged it? There's a difference between something comes up, a big tragedy in your household, and you got to put something $5,000 on a credit card versus just you bought stuff for fun that was $5,000 worth of credit that you built up, and now you have to pay that. Those are 2 very different ways to get to the same debt number.
I'm not even as concerned about that because that's done and passed, and we've criticized and killed them for it. I want to know what is the next plan. Because on one hand, you're telling me all in, make or break 1-year deals, but then I got my core, including Diggs, all re-signed while young. Well, Dak's not, but what's the plan?
Yeah, so
what do you think their plan is in this offseason?
Here was the let me
this coming one.
I think their plan this offseason will look remarkably similar to the one last year. And that they're going to lean pretty heavily on young draftable talent, which is why it was frustrating they gave away that 4th-round pick. Now, here was the full quote when Jerry said the all-in thing, which I think has gotten muddied over time because he's used all-in about a dozen different times since then, and it's almost like spiteful at this point the way he uses it.
Yeah.
But the original question was, he was asked about going all-in this offseason. Do you feel urgency to go in all-in this offseason? It was that Senior Bowl, and his exact...
Which right now, when just saying that, is LA Rams.
Yes.
That's what I think. F them picks.
Yes. Which is, to his credit, when you look at the full quote, he's being asked a question about going all in on free agency, and he changes the question essentially. But he said, I would anticipate, with looking ahead at our key contracts that we'd like to address, we will be all in.
Okay.
And he said, I would anticipate we'll be all in at the end of this year. So when you say, is there any thought, we will push the hell out of it. Yeah. It will be going all in on different people than you've done in the past. We will be going all in. So
he's basically saying, I'm going to pay my 3 guys max money.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying there. I'm going to pay Dak, I'm going to pay Lamb, I'm going to pay Micah. That is his version or a version of all in.
But he still muddies it by saying...
Then he went into draft picks?
Yeah, because they said it will be going all in on different people than you've done in the past.
What does that mean?
Okay, so that sounds like you're talking about free agency potentially, people that have not been in your building. And so it got muddied. He gave one of his kind of roaming around answers, but when his very first word he said was, looking ahead at our key contracts, I would anticipate we will be all in. Which to him meant, hey, all in is I'm going to spend a lot of money on CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott and get those done, and eventually into the future, probably Micah Parsons.